So with that, I'm happy to take some questions. So.
Thank you very much for your address, Governor. Jack Whale from NTA Newswire. We have a federal budget next week. We also have state and territory budgets over the next 2 months, Southern Victoria state budgets today. I guess, can you speak to the risk that those spending decisions pose to your inflation fighting efforts when they're not factored into the Reserve Bank's forecast?
Sure. So I'm conscious that there are budgets coming up. The point I would make is that the Treasurer, Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers, he says publicly and he says to me in private that he does have inflation in his mind while he is thinking about the budget. And I think that I've said this before as well, budgets are very difficult they're big balancing acts for governments. They've got lots of things on their plate. And I think they are all conscious that they want to help us beat inflation, so they don't want to try and add to inflationary pressures, but we'll just have to see what the budget comes out like, and then we can think about how that might impact our forecasts. But as I said, the signs, at least by what's being said, are to me that inflation is at front of mind.
Hi, Ali from Livewire Markets. There's been a change in tune between your statements in March and May. Back then, inflation was falling in line with forecasts and there are encouraging signs that inflation was moderating. Now inflation is declining slower than expected. You mentioned it's been a bumpy ride. Given these changes or omissions, would you agree the board is significantly more concerned about inflation than it was 6 weeks ago? And if that's the case, why not hike rates today?
I think let's just take a step back a little bit and think back to November last year when we raised interest rates. And at the time we thought the risks had shifted a little bit to the upside and we were taking out a little bit of insurance. It's true that the data towards the end of last year and the early this year led everyone to sort of think, oh, it's okay now. I think we've always felt that it was a bit too soon to declare victory, and I think the numbers in recent weeks have demonstrated that for us. We think policy is restrictive. We don't think we necessarily have to tighten again, but we can't rule it out. If we have to, we will. If we really think that inflation is going to be persistent and significantly above our forecast, we will tighten again. But the board made the judgment at the meeting that the right stance at the moment is to stay where we are, continue to observe what's going on in the economy, be data-driven, and as I said, we might have to raise, we might not.
Governor, Peter Ryan from the ABC.
Peter.
Was there any discussion or debate at the two-day meeting about raising interest rates?
Yes, that was one of the things that the board discussed. So the board did discuss the option of raising interest rates. It discussed the option of keeping interest rates where they were. As I said, on balance, the board felt that at the moment, staying where they are was appropriate. We think that policy is currently restrictive. That doesn't rule out that we mightn't have to raise rates, but it doesn't mean we will have to raise rates. So there was a discussion about it, but the board decided on balance to stay where it was.